The Silent Cry. The twin suns of Kepler 442 cast long shadows across the crystalline structures of New Haven Colony as Director Lyra Thane stood at the observation deck of the main administrative building. The Zephyrian settlement had grown from a small mining outpost to a thriving community of 800 souls over the past 15 years. Children of various species played in the central plaza while their parents worked the rich mineral deposits that made this world so valuable. Lyra's pale blue skin shimmered with worry as she watched the peaceful scene below. Her elongated fingers traced patterns on the transparent steel window, a nervous habit she had developed during her years of leadership. The colony had always been a beacon of cooperation between different species, but now dark clouds gathered both literally and figuratively over their small world. The communications console behind her chirped with an incoming transmission. Communications Officer Nix, a young Zephyrian with the traditional silver markings around his eyes, looked up from his station with concern written across his features. "Director, we're receiving a wideband transmission from the approaching fleet," Nix announced, his voice barely concealing his anxiety. Lyra turned from the window, her ceremonial robes flowing behind her as she moved toward the central command station. The main screen flickered to life, revealing the angular face of a Skoroth commander. His reptilian features were marked by the ritual scars that indicated high rank within their military hierarchy. Cold, yellow eyes stared out from the screen with predatory intensity. "I am Commander Voss of the Skoroth Imperial Navy," the figure announced, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to immediate obedience. "You are occupying territory that has been claimed by the Skoroth Empire under the right of superior force doctrine." Lyra stepped forward, drawing herself to her full height despite being shorter than most of her species. "This is Director Lyra Thane of the New Haven Colony. We have legitimate settlement rights to this world, granted by the Galactic Settlement Council 15 years ago. We have harmed no one and claim no territory beyond our established boundaries." Commander Voss's expression remained unchanged, as if he had not heard her words at all. "You have 24 of your local hours to evacuate all personnel and equipment from the planet's surface. Any who remain after that time will be considered hostile combatants and dealt with accordingly." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Around the room, the mixed crew of Zephyrians, Andorians, and other species looked to their director for guidance. These were not soldiers or warriors, but miners, engineers, teachers, and families who had built their lives in this peaceful corner of the galaxy. "Director, what are our options?" asked Dr. Kamal Torres, the colony's chief medical officer and one of the few humans among the permanent residents. His weathered face showed the concern they all felt. Lyra moved to the tactical display, which showed the 7 Skoroth warships in high orbit around their world. Each vessel was 3 times the size of their largest transport ship, bristling with weapons designed for planetary bombardment. The Skoroth Empire had built their reputation on overwhelming force and absolute ruthlessness. "Send out distress calls on all emergency frequencies," Lyra ordered. "Contact the Galactic Peacekeeping Force, the Andorian Defense Fleet, anyone who might be able to help us." As the hours passed, the responses began to come in, each one more disappointing than the last. The Galactic Peacekeeping Force was engaged in a border dispute 3 systems away and could not spare any vessels. The Andorian Defense Fleet expressed sympathy but explained that they lacked ships powerful enough to challenge a Skoroth battle group. Other potential allies offered the same regrets and the same limitations. The truth that no one wanted to speak aloud was becoming clear. In the vast expanse of the galaxy, the strong took what they wanted from the weak, and no one intervened when the cost might be too high. The Skoroth Empire had calculated correctly that no one would risk war over a small mining colony, no matter how innocent its inhabitants. Meanwhile, far from the crisis unfolding around Kepler 442, humanity's deep space monitoring station Omega-7 drifted silently through the void between stars. The station, disguised as a simple research facility, served a very different purpose than most of the galaxy realized. Inside its sterile corridors, operator Marcus Chen sat at his workstation, monitoring communication traffic across dozens of star systems. Marcus had been born on Earth's Luna colony, but had spent most of his adult life in deep space, listening to the conversations of alien civilizations. He spoke 14 different languages and could recognize the distress patterns of twice as many species. When the desperate calls from New Haven Colony reached his station, he immediately understood their significance. The young operator quickly routed the transmission to his supervisor's quarters, knowing that Admiral Sarah Rodriguez would want to be informed immediately, regardless of the late hour. Within minutes, the Admiral appeared in the monitoring center, her gray hair hastily pulled back, and her uniform jacket thrown over casual clothes. "Play it again," she ordered, listening intently to the Zephyrian director's increasingly desperate pleas for assistance. Admiral Rodriguez had served in Earth's hidden space fleet for over 30 years, watching as humanity quietly developed capabilities that would shock their galactic neighbors. For decades, Earth had maintained the pretense of being a young, technologically limited species, content to trade peacefully and avoid the power struggles that consumed older civilizations. Behind this facade, however, human engineers and scientists had been working to ensure that humanity would never again be at the mercy of stronger forces. "Ma'am, should I log this with the standard non-interference protocols?" Marcus asked, knowing the regulations that typically govern their response to alien conflicts. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment, studying the tactical data that accompanied the distress call. 800 civilians, including children, facing annihilation by a force that no one else was willing to challenge. She thought of her own grandchildren, safe in their schools on Earth, and imagined them facing such a threat with no hope of rescue. "Activate Emergency Protocol 7, she said finally. "Contact Captain Vasquez aboard the Thunderstrike. Tell her to prepare for immediate deployment." Marcus's eyes widened. Protocol 7 had never been implemented before. It meant revealing humanity's true capabilities, ending decades of carefully maintained secrecy. "Admiral, are you certain? Once we deploy the Thunderstrike, there's no going back. Every major power in the galaxy will know that we've been hiding our real strength." Admiral Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Maybe it's time they knew. Send the message." Deep in the outer system of Sol, hidden behind the gas giant Neptune, the UES Thunderstrike powered up its systems for the first time in 3 years. The ship was humanity's masterpiece, incorporating technologies that their allies didn't know existed and their enemies couldn't imagine. From the outside, it appeared sleek and efficient, but not obviously threatening. The real surprise lay in its revolutionary propulsion system, defensive capabilities, and weapons that operated on principles most species had not yet discovered. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of her ship, watching as her crew prepared for what might be humanity's first open military action in galactic affairs. She was a veteran of the Martian colonial wars and had served with distinction in Earth's various covert operations, but this mission felt different. This time, they would not be operating in shadows. "Status report," she ordered, her voice carrying the quiet authority of someone accustomed to life and death decisions. "All systems green, Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander James Park from the engineering station. "The quantum fold drive is fully charged and ready for extended operations. Weapons systems online and calibrated," added Commander Lisa Santos from Tactical. "Holographic countermeasures are functioning at peak efficiency. Communications array ready for full spectrum monitoring and broadcasting," announced Ensign Michael Chung. Captain Vasquez nodded to each officer in turn, proud of the crew she had trained and fought beside for years. They represented humanity's finest, drawn from Earth's various colonies and military academies. More importantly, they understood what this mission meant for their species' future role in galactic affairs. "Ladies and gentlemen," she addressed her bridge crew, "today we stop hiding. Today we show the galaxy that humanity stands ready to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Set course for the Kepler 442 system. maximum velocity. The Thunderstrike's quantum fold drive engaged with barely a whisper, warping space-time around the vessel in ways that would have seemed impossible to most alien scientists. Where conventional faster-than-light travel required careful navigation through hyperspace lanes, humanity's new technology allowed direct point-to-point travel at speeds that defied traditional understanding. As the human warship raced through folded space toward a confrontation that would change everything, the beings of New Haven Colony continued their desperate preparations. Director Lyra Thane had organized the evacuation of their most vulnerable citizens to underground shelters, but she knew these would provide little protection against orbital bombardment. The Scarif fleet maintained its position in high orbit, Commander Voss counting down the hours until he could begin the systematic destruction of the colony. His orders were clear. Make an example of these settlers that would discourage others from resisting Scarif expansion. He had performed similar operations dozens of times before, and no one had ever come to stop him. Neither the desperate colonists nor the confident Scarif commander could have imagined that help was already on the way, traveling faster than any ship they knew could move, crewed by members of a species the galaxy had greatly underestimated. The Thunderstrike flew through the void like a blade cutting through darkness, carrying with it the hopes of the innocent and the promise that the strong would no longer prey upon the weak with impunity. Thunder in the darkness. The Thunderstrike dropped out of quantum fold space at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, with barely a ripple in the fabric of reality. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on her bridge, studying the tactical display that showed the Scarif fleet in high orbit around the planet. 7 warships, each one larger and more heavily armed than anything the Galactic Peacekeeping Force could field, held 800 innocent lives hostage. Time to intercept, she asked her navigation officer. At current velocity, 18 minutes, Captain, replied Lieutenant Sarah Kim. The Scarif vessels are holding standard orbital positions around the planet. They appear to be preparing for surface bombardment. Captain Vasquez felt a familiar calm settle over her as she prepared for battle. This was what she had trained for, what humanity had spent decades preparing for in secret. Signal the colony. Let them know help has arrived. On the surface of Kepler 442 bits, Director Lyra Thane nearly collapsed with relief when the unexpected transmission reached New Haven Colony's communication center. The voice that came through their speakers was warm and confident, speaking accented Galactic Standard with unfamiliar pronunciations. New Haven Colony, this is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earth ship Thunderstrike. We received your distress call and are en route to your location. Please take shelter and prepare for possible orbital engagement. Communications Officer Nix stared at his console in disbelief. Director, the transmission source is moving toward us at impossible speed. No known technology should allow for such velocity in normal space. Dr. Torres moved to stand beside Lyra, his human heritage making him perhaps the most shocked person in the room. Captain, this is Dr. Kemal Torres, Colony Medical Officer. I must ask, what is Earth's interest in our situation? My understanding was that human space forces were limited to system defense fleets. The response came back with what sounded like gentle amusement. Doctor, there's quite a lot about human capabilities that the galaxy doesn't know yet. We'll explain more after we deal with your immediate problem. Thunderstrike out. High above the planet, Commander Voss received his own surprise when his sensors began registering an approaching vessel. The readings made no sense. According to his instruments, a single ship was approaching at velocities that should have been impossible, and the energy signature was unlike anything in the Scarif Empire's extensive databases. Commander, the approaching vessel is of unknown configuration, reported his tactical officer, a younger Scarif whose scales still showed the bright colors of his recent maturation. Our computers cannot identify the species or technology involved. Voss studied the sensor data with growing concern. In his long career of conquest, he had learned to recognize the signatures of every major military force in the galaxy. This ship, however, appeared to be something entirely new. Open a communication channel. Let us see who dares to interfere with the Scaroth Empire. The main screen of the Scaroth flagship flickered to life, revealing the bridge of the approaching vessel. Commander Voss found himself looking at a species he recognized, but had never considered a military threat. The human female who appeared on his screen wore a uniform he had never seen before, and her calm, confident demeanor was not what he expected from a member of such a young race. "I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earth ship Thunderstrike," she announced, her voice carrying an authority that surprised the Scaroth commander. "You are engaged in hostile action against a peaceful civilian settlement. I am ordering you to withdraw from this system immediately." Commander Voss felt his lip curl in disdain. "Human, your species lacks the strength to make demands of the Scaroth Empire. You will withdraw immediately, or your ship will be destroyed as an example to others who would interfere with our operations." Captain Vasquez's expression remained unchanged. "Commander, I'll give you one opportunity to reconsider. The settlement below is under the protection of the United Earth Alliance. Any hostile action against the colonists will be met with force." The Scaroth commander's response was to cut the communication and turn to his weapons officer. "Target the human vessel. Show them the price of defying the Scaroth Empire." The 7 Scaroth warships turned their massive weapon arrays toward the approaching Thunderstrike, their energy cannons charging with enough power to vaporize a small moon. Commander Voss had used this tactic many times before, overwhelming potential rescuers with such devastating firepower that they fled rather than face destruction. But Captain Vasquez had been expecting this response. "Evasive maneuvers," she ordered calmly. "Activate holographic countermeasures. Show them what human ingenuity looks like." The Thunderstrike's revolutionary defensive systems came online, projecting multiple identical copies of the ship throughout the surrounding space. To Scaroth sensors, one human vessel had suddenly become 5, each moving independently and appearing equally real. When the Scaroth weapons fired, their carefully aimed shots struck empty space as the real Thunderstrike danced between the energy beams. "Impossible," breathed Commander Voss's tactical officer. "Our targeting systems cannot lock onto the real vessel." Captain Vasquez smiled grimly as her ship's advanced maneuvering systems, powered by human innovations in gravitational manipulation, allowed the Thunderstrike to move with an agility that defied conventional physics. "Target their weapon systems," she ordered. "Precision strikes only. I want them disabled, not destroyed." The Thunderstrike's plasma cannons, operating on principles that most alien scientists had not yet discovered, fired with surgical accuracy. Each shot found its target, systematically disabling the weapon arrays of the Scaroth vessels without causing catastrophic damage. Within minutes, 3 of the 7 warships found themselves defenseless, their primary armaments reduced to twisted metal. Commander Voss watched in growing horror as his supposedly overwhelming fleet was picked apart by a single vessel from a species he had considered primitive. "All ships, ramming speed. If we cannot destroy them with weapons, we will crush them with our mass." But the Thunderstrike was already moving, its quantum engines allowing it to accelerate and change direction faster than the massive Scaroth vessels could follow. The human ship wove between the enemy fleet like a dancer, its holographic doubles adding confusion to the Scaroth formation as they tried desperately to land a decisive blow. "Captain, 2 more Scaroth vessels are withdrawing from engagement," reported Commander Santos from the tactical station. Their commanders appeared to be reassessing the situation. "Maintain pressure on the remaining ships," Captain Vasquez ordered. "Disable their engines if they continue to resist." The battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than 30 minutes. When the last Scaroth weapon fell silent, Commander Voss found himself staring at a tactical display that showed most of his fleet disabled or retreating. The single human vessel hung in space before his flagship, unharmed and seemingly ready to continue the engagement indefinitely. His communication system activated without his permission as the human captain established another connection. "Commander Voss, your fleet is no longer capable of threatening the colony below. I strongly suggest you collect your disabled vessels and withdraw from this system." The Skiroth commander's pride warred with his survival instincts. His empire did not tolerate failure, but they also did not waste resources on battles that could not be won. This is not over, human. The Skiroth Empire has a long memory, and we do not forget those who interfere with our operations. Captain Vasquez's expression remained professional but firm. Commander, if the Skiroth Empire wants to test human resolve further, we'll be ready. But I'd suggest you inform your superiors that the galaxy has changed. Humanity is no longer content to watch innocent people suffer while those with power do nothing. As the battered Skiroth fleet limped away from Kepler 442, news of the engagement began to spread through the galaxy's communication networks. Within hours, every major power would know that humanity possessed military capabilities far beyond what they had previously demonstrated. The careful balance of galactic politics had shifted in a single afternoon. On the surface of New Haven Colony, Director Lyra Thane stood once again at her observation window. But this time she watched as human shuttles descended from orbit, bringing medical supplies and technical assistance to help repair the damage caused by the crisis. Dr. Torres worked alongside Captain Vasquez's crew, marveling at their advanced medical technology and their genuine desire to help. Director, Communications Officer Nix called out, "We're receiving congratulations and offers of alliance from 17 different systems. It seems word of the human intervention has spread quickly." Lyra nodded thoughtfully, understanding that they had witnessed something historically significant. A young species had revealed itself as a major galactic power, not through conquest or intimidation, but through the simple act of protecting those who could not protect themselves. Captain Vasquez joined her at the observation window, looking out at the children playing once again in the colony's central plaza. "Your people will be safe," she assured the Zephyrian director. "Earth's protection extends to all peaceful settlements in this sector." "Why?" Lyra asked. "Why risk revealing your true capabilities for a small colony like ours?" The human captain was quiet for a moment, watching a group of young Zephyrians teaching human children a traditional game. "Because someone has to," she said finally. "The galaxy is full of those who would take what they want through force. If good people do nothing, then force becomes the only law that matters." As the Thunderstrike prepared for its journey back to human space, Captain Vasquez knew that everything had changed. Humanity had stepped out of the shadows and onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as protectors. The galaxy would never again underestimate the quiet species from the third planet of an unremarkable star. The age of human influence had begun, announced not with threats or demands, but with the simple promise that the innocent would no longer face their darkest hours alone.